Hello, this is Victor at HistorioMercedes.com. This video is for Mark in Hawaii, and this is 9899 pump from the S-Class door lock pump. We're going to make a bench test video for it. Now, first thing is the common problem with these pumps, the motor. Well, this motor actually, this is extremely bad because this motor is actually seized. Usually, at least they spin, and it just started melting internally. As you can see, this is from the motor. It's just bad. This thing is just horrible. It overheated so badly, you can see it's even a little bluish on the shaft. So it was so much heat. Yeah, I don't know what happened there with this pump. This isn't right. So I'm thinking you have a leak somewhere in pressure circuit for sure. The pressure circuit for lumbar supports in your front seats, because that's the only explanation. The motor had to get this motor in this state, it had to work non-stop. So that's basically what happened. Running non-stop, the motor melts too much. So so for the pump, I did replace the motor. I did polish up the vanes and all that. The vanes themselves don't have that much wear, so that's also kind of confusing, because why this motor failed, because vanes are not really scored. They look good actually. So that is definitely, there's a problem with the vehicle somewhere for sure. I can tell, because vanes are nice, they're not scored, the surfaces are good, but the motor just melted. Alright, so let's go down to our bench test. Pardon my mess, this is usual mess on my bench. Power is connected, taken from power supply there. I'm going to put on the ignition. So once you put on the ignition, you have two circuits, vacuum, pressure. And for pressure storage tank, I'm using this bottle. You can see I can crush it so you can see how it inflates. For vacuum storage tank, it doesn't need to have a tank to it. I just have this crushed, sealed vacuum pipe. So let's activate the ignition. The pump is going to start. Let's see what it's doing first. It's doing the pressure first. Now it's doing the vacuum. So here's the vacuum and pressure. There. So what we see here is pump created enough pressure and enough vacuum for internal valves to shut down, and it's set on the bench for a couple of hours in this state, and I can clearly say that pressure circuit and vacuum circuit internally do not leak. That's a good thing, because sometimes they leak internally, so that has to be checked before I checked it before I mail pumps back out. Oh yes, another thing I wanted to say is the power cables, the wires that go to the motor, they actually in very bad state, so I did replace them because they were melting. As you can see, so much heat from the motor, the wires started to melt. This is original wiring that came with the pump, so I put on Teflon wires, very high temperature cables, so those are scrapped. Now pressure is there, pump is off, vacuum is there, pump is off, because if you have a leak in one of these circuits, as you can see, that's the leak in the vacuum circuit. That was the leak in pressure circuit. So no leaks inside the pump. Now I'm going to start backwards. I'm going to start activating ports with trunk release handle. So it is connected to trunk release handle port. The gauge will show us vacuum and pressure. Vacuum is this way, pressure is that way. Obviously it goes both directions. Wrong one. Let me see, trunk release. Ugh. Alright, that was a trunk release, I'm sorry. I wanted to do the handle first. Okay, so here's the handle. So as you see, that was the pressure circuit. It pumped up pressure to push handle out from the trunk. I'll let go of the power, and the vacuum is created to pull handle back in. One more time. Pressure, handle is out. Vacuum, handle is in. That's good. Second part is going to be a combination: the remote trunk release and rear headrest. So we're gonna have pressure and vacuum. Now when I'm going to activate trunk release, it will create pressure. So here it is. As you can see, it created pressure. One more time. Pressure was created. Now this port is a multi-port. It works for headrests and remote trunk release. Headrests, it creates vacuum. As you can see, that was vacuum. Okay, that's vacuum to get those headrests to go down. And we're coming back to our door lock circuits. I'm going to demonstrate it on the trunk circuit. This is much more visual rather, because trunk circuit has a single solid actuator, and pressure and vacuum shows very well. So lock and unlock. Pressure unlocking, as you can see, activates nice. Locking, that was vacuum. That's lock. Lock and unlock. Unlock, lock. So that's basically the locking and unlocking. Now the reason I'm showing it on the trunk circuit, I'll show you on the other circuits, on the door lock circuits. These manifolds switch over. So they switch. First you get pressure vacuum on 2, and 2 it's like it's just the pressure and vacuum jumps between the outputs. So therefore the trunk is always there, so I use the trunk for that matter. Now if I'm going to use the doors, because the pressure and manifolds, they keep switching, the intake for the pressure and vacuum switches between the pipes. The gauge does not show long enough where the pressure and vacuum is, because the switch is instant, and you're gonna see right now how different it is from the trunk actuation. As you can see, the gauge just jumped to where it had to go, and as you can see, gauge jumps fast and goes back to 0, because once it reaches 0.5, it basically switches over to another pipe, and therefore you don't see it staying in one position. So it's just like jumps and switch is made. You go start the pumps. But anyway, that doesn't matter. Long story short, this pump works good, and I did test the motor. I polished it off, the internals, just to make sure that there is no binding. I had it really hot, running hot, just to make sure everything is in order, and it is in order. Everything is good to go. So that's about all. This is a little lengthy video, but it goes far, so I wanted to make sure that everything is in order before I mail it out. It's gonna sit on the bench for another maybe couple of hours, just like that, untouched. And if there is gonna be any issues with pressure or vacuum circuits, the pump will activate, deactivate, activate, deactivate, and I can feel the temperature on the motor, make sure it's not overheating. But I didn't see it happen. So we're on it for quite a little bit now, and I can touch the motor, so it's not really hot at all. That's good. It's not gonna happen like this if there is no problem in the vehicle circuits. So that has to be checked out before you install this pump. You don't want to burn it again. Alright, so this is basically going to be all for me for now. This is Victor at RestoreYourMercedes.com. Thank you for watching.